What's up, everybody? What is going on?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Quarantine Chronicles. We're back. It's been a while. I know.
Yes, we miss y'all. I
Mhm.
know y'all missed us, but we really missed y'all. But I'm James,
I'm Natalie.
and this is the Broken Windshield Quarantine
Teen
Chronicles
Chronicles.
edition. So
Yeah,
yes, we are
quarantine.
still quarantined. I know people out here going to the beach and to the mall and doing all that stuff. No, we're in the house. We're in the house.
Yes.
Yep.
Only essential stuff.
I still ain't even been to the barbershop. As you can see, this mini fro up underneath this hat. I ain't been to the barbershop yet. So, but yeah, because we still in the house. But we ain't gonna really be on here because y'all know the Quarantine Chronicles editions are usually our shorter videos. But we really missed y'all, man. I hope everybody out here. I hope y'all been safe. I hope y'all been chilling, doing some soul searching, reading some books, catching up on some TV shows, and whatever y'all doing in y'all quarantine routine.
Yes, and staying safe as possible because COVID-19 is still real and it's still out here.
Right, right. So I recommend that you guys stay safe and whatever it is that y'all doing, stay safe.
And with everything that's going on, even people are protesting. Make sure you wear your mask if you're out protesting.
Yeah,
Stay safe, wear your mask, stay 6 feet apart.
right. So we wanted to come on here and kind of share a testimony, of what God has done for us within the last month that we have not been on here. So we haven't been on here because things have been happening. We ain't just been sitting around just
No.
chilling, twiddling our thumbs or nothing like that. Things have definitely been happening, and it's been moving faster than even what we were prepared for. So, we had to get some things handled. So, we haven't been able to really upload. So we wanted to come here and just kind of share what has been happening within the last month, and it's some really good news.
Yes. So, as you all know, we talked about it in one of our quarantine chronicles. And God has had us in a different season. And in this season, He had us in a transition, meaning that we was in transition with our housing and with a lot of other things. The main thing is with our housing. So in this transition, in this season that He had us in, we learned a lot, we gained a lot, and we even, I'm not going to really say lost anything.
We didn't lose nothing. We grew.
We grew. We
We
grew
most
a
certainly
lot.
grew.
We grew a lot. And
We lost some old habits.
yeah, we did. So
We
we
lost
did.
that.
We
Yeah.
lost some old habits, and God had us in this season because there's some things that He needed us to do in this season, and He had to kind of shift us because we had so many distractions, and so He shifted us and had us in transition in this season, and I'm so grateful. I was so grateful for that journey for the
Right.
last like 6-7 months.
Right.
It wasn't always easy,
Oh, it was not easy at all. Period.
but I'm so grateful because I feel like it made us different people. Um, we learned so much, and I don't think I've ever heard God so clear.
The transition definitely refocused us. We were paying attention to a whole lot of other stuff other than what God was saying for us to do. We was paying attention to jobs, paying attention to, money, bank accounts, paying attention to the house and the children, and all of that is good. All of that is definitely priority type of things, but nothing should take more priority over God and what He is instructing you to do. And we had to be refocused. We had to be shifted. We had to learn that, and we just had to really fall in love with again when it came to just worshiping. That's the one thing that we really, I'm grateful that we were able to pull out of this is just to just worship Him. You know what I'm saying? And it's just so much peace. Like we were able to, I believe that we were able to really endure some of the stuff that we endured during our transition period because of our worship and prayer life.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were able to say, okay, this is what's happening. Let us go. You know what I'm saying? We gotta get on our knees. We gotta be on our face. We gotta get back in our word like we know that we should be. Because life happens, and you don't do the stuff that you need to do as often and as consistently as you need to.
No.
We wasn't praying as consistently as we needed to. We were not studying our word as consistently as we needed to. We weren't worshiping at home. When I say worshiping, I'm not talking about at church during praise and worship. I'm talking about your own personal time at home. We wasn't doing that as consistently as we needed to. And then when we did do it, it was more out of an obligation to do it versus a want and a desire. So,
and I even think prior to our transition, we were also in transition as far as church.
yes.
So I think that had a lot to do with it too. We was in transition. We knew God was shifting us, but we just didn't know at that certain point where He was shifting us to.
Yeah.
So we was like, prior to all the transition, and as we was like in transition, like with church, and we knew our seasons was changing, but we were just trying to figure out where God was shifting us to.
Right. And also, that transition in itself from the church that we were at to the church that we are going to now, that we're members of now, Encounter Church, shout out.
Yeah.
Encounter Church Charlotte, shout out.
Pastor Jeff
Pastor
and
Jazz.
Gibbs.
Yep, shout out. So that was a difficult transition for us too, because we didn't, we didn't leave because there was like issues and things like that. We didn't have any issues. We actually loved the church that we were going to, Love Fellowship Church. Shout out to you, Pastor Williams, Pastor Anthony, and Renee Williams. Shout out to y'all too. So we were there, and we were loyal to our church. We loved our pastors. We loved our church family or whatever. But we knew that there was more that God was calling us to. And that transition in itself, that was the first transition that we actually experienced. I believe that sparked everything else. But that was the first transition that we went through within these last 6 to 7 months, and that was difficult for us because, like I said, we didn't leave because there was issues or anything like that. We left because God was calling us to more.
Our season was shifting.
And
seasons were changing.
Right, and we love our church family. We love the people that we were around, and we just had to be obedient to God. And He was just calling us to do something that we just emotionally didn't really want to do. And it was difficult. I'm sure it was hard on them too, but it was difficult for us because, again, we love them. So, that was the first transition that we went through, and I believe that was that was the tipping point. That was what knocked over everything. So,
yes.
All right. So, but that's just kind of the background of what we experienced. You've seen in the other videos that we did that we were in our transition as far as our housing. I don't think we really touched on the transition as far as our church home. But even in the midst of that, the engine died. We went in our vehicle. We were going. Where were we going? We was going somewhere. As a matter of fact, we were driving the truck to drop it off for some regular maintenance and stuff to be done. And on the way to do that, it completely died on the highway on 485. The truck went out, got it towed to the shop that we was actually driving it to, and they called us about an hour or two later and said, "Hey, your engine is gone."
Yes.
So at that point, we're like, of course, me and Natalie are looking at each other, kind of like,
no car.
We're transitioning. At this time we were staying with my sister. So we're at my sister's house, transitioning from our one home to another home, And in the midst of that, our car dies. And then, of course, all of this happened with COVID-19 and all like that. So, I mean, it was crazy.
It was.
It was absolutely crazy. So, um, the only thing that we could really do was pray. The only thing that we could do was worship.
Worship, trust God. Like, if I've learned nothing else in this season, I've learned to really depend and trust on God for everything and know that He is the source, not man, not job, no job, that God is the source of everything. And sometimes we trust Him, but we don't trust Him with everything. Mm-hmm. We have to wholeheartedly trust Him and trust Him with every single thing. And know that He is God and He can shift and change any situation, but we have to trust Him. Mm-hmm. No matter what the storm is, no matter what the situation looks like, we have to trust God.
Yep. I mean, and all of this was really completely out of our control.
It was.
You know, all of it was out of our control. You know, even with the whole housing situation, it wasn't like we were evicted. It wasn't like we weren't paying bills and things like that. We were actually already was moving out. You know, it was just time. Our lease was up. It was time for us to leave, move. When we moved in, we had one less kid, so we pretty much had outgrew the space that we were in, and it was time. It was time, and we just didn't know that when we moved out that we wasn't going to have somewhere else to move to. So, and we thought that transition probably was going to be like 30 days, and it ended up being like almost 6 months. Yeah. So, none of that was in our control. The car dying, none of that was in our control. You know, so, you know, the COVID-19 and being quarantined, have to be stuck and not really be able to go anywhere, not be able to make the moves that we, you know, were able to used to making. None of that was in our control. So for us, when we are faced with things that we couldn't control, we know that it's God. That's a clear indication that God is at work doing something. We may not understand what He's doing, but He's at work doing something because our whole life was turned upside down and we had no parts in it. That's the whole reality. We had no parts in it. Everything was just flipped upside down, and we were transitioned out of, you know, we were just transitioning.
Yeah, we were. So, but we did transition. We did find somewhere to live. When it happened very quickly. Like, quick.
Very quick. So, let's tell this story. So
we're gonna tell it really quick.
We're gonna tell it really quick. But so there was a house that we found, and we went to look at it, and we liked it. We actually fell in love with it when we walked in. Okay, walked in, did a tour, and by the time we got in our car and went home to do all the application, all the paperwork and things like that, house was gone.
Oh, no, you got to tell the backstory really quickly. So, basically, we were working with this particular company. We had been working with them for, the last 30 days.
Oh, yeah.
To try to find housing, secure housing. And I just felt like they were giving us the runaround. It was like something different. I was like, oh, my God. And it became very, very frustrating. So, we worked, and I was like, okay. And I began to pray. And I was like, okay, God, I need you to lead us to the right place because I can't go back and forth. And I remember a couple of months ago when I was in church, it was during praise and worship, and God had already God had given me this company for us. He dropped it in my spirit. Hey, this is the company you need to go through. But sometimes we get comfortable and we want to go with what's familiar to us. And we decided to go with a company that was familiar with to us, that we had worked with before, that we had dealt with before. And as I was doing the application that day, God dropped in my spirit, this is not where you're supposed to be. And I'm like, God, but this is the same company that we've gone through, that we've used for the last 3-4 years, But I said all that to say it's so important to be obedient, because he will bring everything back to you full circle. Mm-hmm. The same company that he gave me to work with, dropped in my spirit months ago, that we needed to work with, is the same company who approved us, who we went through, and didn't give us a runaround. And we got an approval in less than 24 hours. Mm-hmm. And they had a whole long list of stuff that you were supposed to do. And not one thing on that list they asked us for.
Right. Right.
It was a long list of stuff that you had to do before they even gave you your approval. We not only did we get the approval in less than 24 hours, we didn't provide not one thing on the list before our approval and after our approval. So it was just like, that was God. We knew that was nobody but God.
Yep. I mean, it pays to be obedient. It definitely pays to be obedient to what he's saying. Because, we were going through, and we got to a point where we just got really tired. We got tired of the journey. We got weary. And, we just felt God's strength. We felt his strength in prayer and in fasting and worshiping and studying. We felt his strength, to keep pushing, because we knew that whatever it is that we were learning was not just for us, but it was going to be for someone else too. Marriages go through hardships all the time. Some things you call, some things you don't. Some things are going to be just out of your control, but it's how you work together, and it's how you weather those storms. It's how you go through those transitional periods that really builds your marriage. And that time, what we were going through sometimes destroy marriages. Yeah. What we endured, sometimes marriages do not bounce back from that. Come on, I mean, it was hard for me. It was very difficult for me as the man of the house, as the husband, the father, the provider, the protector, all of that. It was hard for me to see, my family not be in their own place, to have to put pallets in the floor for my children to sleep on. Like, that was difficult. That was I think that was the hardest thing that I've ever had to endure as a man, period, was to see my family like this and not be able to do anything about it. Nothing. Not be able to do anything about it. And it wasn't about money, because we had the money. It wasn't about that. It was something that God was teaching us, and we had to go through this transition period, and to watch that, to witness that, like that. My pride took a hit. My ego took a hit, seriously, because I couldn't do anything about it. We just had to endure it, and like that used to beat up on me. Like, insecurities used to come up, and I thank God for the transition. Looking back on it now, I thank God for what we experienced, because not only did it make our marriage stronger, it made our family unit stronger. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We were able to deal with some of the insecurities and stuff. I started going to therapy. All of this stuff started happening during this transitional period. I started dealing with some past traumas that I didn't even know that I hadn't healed from yet. Like, so I am beyond grateful.
It was a much needed journey.
Yes, it was a much needed journey. And I'm beyond grateful for that journey. But one thing that also that we didn't touch on, and I'm gonna kind of touch on it, and then we're gonna go ahead and be off because it's late. Mm-hmm. So but one thing that we didn't touch on that I want to make very, 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 very clear, and I want to drive this point home. Whatever you are going through, whatever you are facing, whatever amount of money you have, it is important that you continue to pay your tithes.
Continue to sow.
Do not let off the gas when it comes to paying your tithes. As a matter of fact, if you're going through a situation, especially situations that you know that you can't control, turn the heat up on your tithes. Like the Bible teaches us to pay 10%. During this transition, we was like, we're not paying 10%. We paid 12% on everything. Every dime that we got. I don't care if somebody gave us $20. We paid 12% on that $20. And I promise you, if you work the principles in the Bible, not only will you be in peace, because it's amazing, and some of our friends, the people that we were around, that we were talking to throughout this transition, were amazed at the amount of peace that we had, even though we were feeling certain things inside, even though we were dealing with some of our internal stuff, we were at peace. And we were at peace because not only were we praying, not only were we reading our word and fasting and doing all of that stuff, but we were paying our tithes.
Sowing is very important.
Sowing is very important.
No matter what. I've heard people say, oh, it's a pandemic. How can ministers or ministries still be asking people to pay tithes or offerings? I'm just like, no matter what, you cannot stop sowing. You can't.
You can't.
You have to apply every principle, regardless if it's a pandemic or not. So we have to remember, everything that's around us, this world, these jobs, that's not our source. God is our source. Mm-hmm. So we have to stay focused on Him. And no matter what the pandemic, no matter what your storm, anything, you have to continue to stay the course and stay focused on Him.
Mm-hmm. And just doing that tells God, yo, Lord, regardless of what's going on, you know what I'm saying? We don't have nowhere to stay for our own place to stay. We weren't homeless, and I thank God for that. We weren't out in the street. We weren't living in the cars, and I thank God for that, because that's not everybody's story. Some people actually experience that. So I was grateful that we didn't have to experience that, but that was still an uncomfortable place because we're used to our own. So we're telling God, hey, we don't have our own. Our car just died. We got to replace the whole engine in it, all of that stuff. And,
He still made a way.
And He made a way. But we told God, all of this is happening, but we trust you enough with our tithes. We trust you enough to still continue to sow, even though we have all of this other stuff going on, even though we would be justified to say, hey, I'm not going to pay my tithes because we got to move.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay my tithes because I got to put an engine in my car. I'm not going to pay my tithes because we got to replace the catalytic converter. It wasn't just the engine. It was the engine. It was the catalytic converter. It was some other relays and converters and stuff that had to be replaced. Mirrors had to be replaced. Windshield had to be replaced. The AC motor had to be replaced. It's June going into July. It's hot. You can't be riding around with ACs without an AC with 3 small children. All of that stuff had to be done on the car. And we would be justified by saying, hey, God, or hey, we're not paying our tithes because we got all this other stuff we got to pay for. But no, that's not the mindset that we had. It's not the mindset that we wanted to have. We were saying, hey, God, we trust you enough to make a way through all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And we're going to put our money where our mouth is and say, here, not only are we going to give you the 10% that you require, but here's an additional 2% on top of that, just to say, hey, we trust you even the more.
Mm-hmm. And when you apply those principles, it works. Like, we got unexpected blessings. Like,
we had people giving us money.
We had people just pouring into us, like, all different types of ways,
right?
Through different things,
different types of stuff,
and it just really blessed us. And when you really apply all the principles and you trust God, He will open doors that you didn't even know could be open. And He will use people that you will be surprised.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, we had clients to enroll in our business that we didn't even really necessarily prospect. I didn't even talk to. Clients enrolled into our business. We had checks show up in our mailbox. We had people call us and say, hey, I'm coming over to give you something. We had, even our aunt allowed us to use her vehicle while our vehicle was being fixed. I mean, we could have been stuck. And we didn't ask. We didn't ask none of these people for any of this stuff. we were definitely content with trusting God, knowing that everything was going to be worked out. But this was His way of showing, when you sow, you reap.
Mm-hmm.
When you trust me, I'll make a way. He shows us plenty of times that He makes a way, even if when we don't trust Him. But when you trust Him, I make a way.
Yes,
is what He showed us. Even the process of moving into this house was so smooth, so smooth. We had no issues, none at all. So we're not going to be on here long. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. But I just want you guys to, when you watch this video, to, for one, apply the principles that you are learning in the Bible. Pay your tithes. Pay your tithes. Pray. Fast. Read your word. Worship.
yes,
On your own. Without, the church. Without being in church. You don't have to do that. Find you a corner and go in. I promise you, whatever you're dealing with, you're gonna be in perfect peace. The Bible says that He will keep you in perfect peace if you keep your mind stayed on Him.
And we cannot pick and choose what we trust God with or what we give to God. We have to trust Him wholeheartedly with everything, with every area in our life, with every storm. We have to trust Him. We have to.
Yep.
We have to.
Yep. And this right here is we didn't even really know what we were going to really talk about today on this live, but we decided that we wanted to tell our testimony. And so just for you married couples out there that are watching this, whatever you are going through, there is another side to it.
And remember that God is bigger. He's bigger than anything that we can ever go through.
He's bigger.
And than anything
He's
that
bigger.
we'll ever experience.
Absolutely. And understanding that person that you married, your partner that you're sitting next to, that you do life with every single day, that when the two of you come together on one accord, there is nothing that can stop you. We are a living witness, and we're telling you this testimony as for that very purpose, yes, for you to understand that you cannot be stopped when the two of you work together.
Yes.
You're going to experience stuff. Things are going to be hard. This transition has been the hardest thing we have ever experienced in the almost 7 years we have been married. The 8 years of our relationship. It has been we've lost jobs, we've had income changes and things like that, but this has been the hardest thing that we have had to go through.
Yes.
So you can make it. Hold your head up.
Be encouraged.
You can make it. You can make it. You will make it. You can do all things through Christ that strengthens you.
And remember, greater is He that's in us than he that's in the world, and cast all your cares upon Him, for He cares for you. Like, just that word will get you through. And stand on those promises.
Yep. So that's it, y'all. We won't have nothing else. We're tired.
Yeah.
Have a good day
unpacking. But we thank y'all for tuning in. We won't be gone long, and our regular episodes will resume in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, shortly. We're gonna be doing it right with the whole shebang.
Yes.
Yo, because we miss our producer, Angel Be Creative. We miss you.
Yes.
So we'll definitely be in contact because it's certainly time. But on that note, y'all,
have a good one. Thank you for tuning in. Please hit that like button.
I forgot about that. Yes. Hit the like button.
Like, share, subscribe.
Hit the bell notification so every time we post something, it comes to your notification box. So
we hope this bless someone. But we're out. Have a good one, and thank you for tuning in to the Quarantine Chronicles from the Broken Windshield.
Good night.